Sorry. All right, and inequalities. Okay, this might get confusing. Okay, so make sure that you pay attention. If you have questions, make sure you ask. Okay, so the first thing that we need to make sure we remember is absolute value. What's absolute value? What's absolute value look like? Oh, come on, people. Okay, so your absolute value, you got your absolute value bars. Okay, so say if I had the absolute value of 7 is what? It's 7. All right, what's the absolute value of negative 7? It's 7. Okay, so absolute value, you kind of have two scenarios here. All right, so it's the same thing with equations and inequalities. We're going to have two sides we're going to be working from, like we did with compound inequalities. Okay, so let's look at our first example here. We're going to have the absolute value of 6b minus 3 is equal to 21. Okay, is this an equation or an inequality? It's an equation, okay, because it has an equal sign. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do here, we'll have our step 1. All right, we're going to set the equation equal to a positive and negative solution. Because remember, with absolute value, like we've shown up here, we have absolute value 7 is 7 and negative 7 is 7. Okay, so what I mean by that is we're going to have 6b minus 3 equals 21, and 6b minus 3 is equal to negative 21. So we're going to have two different solutions here with absolute value. Okay. In the second step, we're going to solve both equations. Okay, using our rules. All right. So here, all right, my first step would be to do what? We're going to add 3 to both sides. So we have a two-step equation. All right. Bring down. I have 6b equals 21 plus 3 is 24. And then my last step is divide by 6 on both sides. B equals 24 divided by 6 is 4. So there's one solution. And then we do the same for the other. I add 3. I'll do to one side, I do to the other. I'll draw my little line here for some of you. Drop my 6b equals negative 21 plus 3 is negative 18. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. B equals negative 3. Okay. So your answer here would be B equals 4 and B equals negative 3. Okay. That's because we have our absolute value, which means this will be 21 and negative 21. Could be a solution. Okay. So you're going to have to create two different equations. One on one side, one on the other. All right, let's look at another one. Let's say absolute value negative 2m plus 7 is equal to 1. So again, here we're going to set two different equations. Okay, you're going to have negative 2m plus 7 equals 1, and negative 2m plus 7 equals negative 1. and then we're going to solve. Okay, so it's just like a two-step equation. The only thing you're doing here is you're taking your solution, you're having a positive solution and a negative solution. And so here we would minus 7 from both sides. Drop what's left. Negative 2m is equal to negative 6. Divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. And m equals 3. And then we would come over here and solve the other one. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides. We're left with negative 2m equals negative 8. Divide both sides by negative 2. And m equals positive 4. And those will be my two solutions. Make sense? Okay, now is where the real fun starts. I know you're excited, ain't you? Or pumped, I can tell. I just got that feeling. Just the vibe in the room. Don't look nervous, it's okay. Alright, this is where our inequalities is going to start. Alright, so let's say we have negative 9 plus 9m as the absolute value of these less than or equal to 27. Okay. Now, do you remember the compound inequalities? You had what? You had two solutions on each side, and then you had your kind of inequality equation or whatever you want to call it in the middle, right? And you had two different, not different, but two of your inequality signs. Okay. So here, first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy inequality sign. And I'm going to abbreviate here to other side. With opposite solution. Okay, so opposite solution, 27 is our solution here, right? What's the opposite of 27? Negative 27. So I take the sign and I copy it. The same exact direction, okay? And I add negative 27. So now I have my absolute value solution, the positive and a negative, on both sides, okay? So you have two different inequalities again here. Now we had two equations up here. We split these. Same here, okay? But you can do this two different ways. If you are somebody that says, oh my gosh, Mr. Reed, this is way too much, I have to split those up. Split them up. But here's what I caution you. Be careful with which direction your sign is pointing and where everything is. Okay? Here's what I mean by that. Let's say you split them. Okay? If you split these, I'm going to have negative 9 plus 9m. My sign here is less than or equal to 27. Okay? Are these identical? Yes. Is the alligator eating the same number? Yes. So that one is good. Okay? Or you can have your other one. Negative 9m, or negative 9 plus 9m. Look at your sign. What is the alligator eating? Is it eating a negative 27? No. Greater than or equal to negative 27. Okay? Do you all see how you could confuse this part here? Be very careful with that. Okay? So if you split them, we split them and then we solve. All right? So when we solve, we're going to do this just like we would do any other inequality. First thing I get rid of here is what? My negative 9. What's the opposite of negative 9? Positive 9. What's you to one side? Do to the other. What's left over here? Is 9m. Bring down my sign. And 27 plus 9 is 36. What's my last step here? Divide by 9. Good. What we do to one side, we do to the other. M is less than or equal to 4. Okay, there's one part solved. So I got to go and solve the other part here. Add 9 to both sides. All I have is 9m that's left. Drop my little line here. Negative 27 plus 9 is negative 18. And then we're going to divide by 9 on both sides. And m is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay? So here's how that would look as a solution. Okay? The negative 27 is on this side. So we start with the negative 2. Copy my sign. Put my variable in the middle. So that would be your solution. M has to be greater than or equal to negative 2, but it also has to be less than or equal to 4. Okay? Now, how would you graph this solution? Here's how I would graph it. I like to graph things easy and not hard. Okay? So what's my largest number here? Between 4 and negative 2, which one's the biggest? 4. So let's put 4 over here on the right side. Is this an open or closed circle? Closed. Why is it closed? It's got the pen to fill it in. Okay. My smallest number, negative 2. It's closed. So negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. My answer, m, is greater than negative 2. So greater than tells me to go right. But it's also less than. So it means we're going to have a dot at negative 2, a closed circle at 4, and we shade in between them. Okay. So that's the way you could do that. Now, we could also solve it from right here. And I'll show you guys how to do that. All right. So we'll example 3 continued on the back side here. All right. Continued. So we had negative 27 less than or equal to negative 9 plus 9m less than or equal to 27. Now notice I took the absolute value bars off because we've added our second solution here. Okay? So here's how you can do this. I would do it this way myself, preferably. That's just me. Okay? Some of you might like to split it because you're like, I want to worry about one thing at a time. So if I add 9, I have to add 9 where? To both sides, because now I have two sides going on here. So add 9 here, add 9 here. All right. What's left in the middle? 9m. I bring my signs down. Okay. Negative 27 plus 9 is negative 18. 27 plus 9 is 36. Divide by 9. What you do to one side, you do to both sides now. You're going to be left with m less than or equal to, less than or equal to, negative 2 and 4. That's another way to work that. And notice we got the same exact solution. Okay? Two different ways to work it, same exact solution. All right? Are you super confused yet?
Nope.
That's great. Everybody else a no? Good. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad. All right, let's look at one more. See if I can get a good, oh, here we go. All right, absolute value, negative 4n plus 2, less than 2. Okay. So again, the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to add our negative to the other side. We copy the sign and we add its opposite on this side. Okay. So if I'm going to rewrite that, negative 2 less than, I'm going to get rid of the absolute value bars. Okay? Or you could just have two different equations, which would be negative 4n plus 2 greater than negative 2 and negative 4n plus 2 is less than 2. Or you can split your equations up. Okay? So here, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Subtract 2, subtract 2. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. Bring down my sign. Negative 4n. And then 2 minus 2 is going to give me 0. Now, what are we dividing by here? What am I dividing by right here? Negative 4. Ding, ding, ding at negative to tell you to do something. What are we doing with that negative? You flip the sign. So that means this sign, if we divide by this negative, this sign flips. This sign flips. So we divide by negative 4. That's going to give me 1. Divide by negative 4. It's going to give me 0. So I'm going to have 1 greater than n greater than 0 for my solution. Okay. And then if you were to graph that, all right, you would have a 1 and a 0. So if it's 0 here, 1 here. We know they are open circles. N is less than 1, but it's also greater than 0. So we're going to show you the answer could be anywhere between 0 and 1. And if we solve it this way over here, minus 2, negative 4n greater than negative 4. Divide by negative 4. By negative 4, my sign flips. So n is less than 1 for that solution. Minus 2, negative 4n less than 0. Divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. N, flip my signs, I divided by a negative greater than 0. So two different ways to do that, same solution. Okay?